Hi, my name is Jessica Polito, and I'll be your instructor for QR 140 this term. I'm making this video to introduce myself to you and to give you some idea basically about how the class is going to work. I'm also asking you to fill out a form introducing yourself to me and giving me some feedback on what you think works for you and anything you'd like me to know. I look forward to meeting you all on Monday, where I will certainly start by answering any questions that you have about the mechanics and the things I'm going over in this video. So good to meet you all, or I look forward to meeting you all soon. My name is Jessica Polito. I use either she, her, or they, them pronouns. Far and away, the best way to reach me is email, jpolito@wellesley.edu. I should say that if you send me email after 9 p.m., after 10 p.m., you probably won't get a reply from me until the next morning. Every time I get email from students in the middle of the night, and I won't see it in time. But I do check it fairly regularly, a little less frequently over the weekend. So that's definitely how to get in touch with me. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I like to bake. I was baking long before the pandemic. In the last year, I've done a bunch of walking and hiking and spending time outside because that pretty much seems to be the thing to do this fall and winter. I also read a bunch, mostly, though not entirely, science fiction and fantasy. These are some of the books that I've enjoyed recently. And the other thing that's occupied a bunch of my time and mental energy in the last 6-8 months or so has been politics. Let's talk about the course. First of all, I'm going to run through a lot of how things work, and there's going to be a lot of musts and a lot of dates and a lot of deadlines. And I just want to start up front by saying, look, things are difficult right now. We're all under a lot of stress. I want you to learn everything that you can. The structure of the class is set up to make sure that you are keeping up, that you're going to benefit from what happens in class, which you do the most if you have done the work. But if you are having difficulties, please get in touch with me. I will not judge you. I will not think worse of you. You don't have to go into a great deal of detail if you're not comfortable doing so, but let me know if you're having difficulties and we can work something out. I can help you with an extension. We can figure it out. So talk to me. Again, you don't have to go into details if things are difficult, but if you do let me know what's going on, I might be able to help, or I might be able to point you in the direction of somebody who can. Wellesley has a lot of resources, and particularly as first-year students, you might not know a lot of what's out there for you. So just bear that in mind as you watch this video and read through the syllabus and see a lot of dates and a lot of requirements. Okay, so what are the basics about the course? We have a textbook. It's called An Introduction to Quantitative Reasoning, and you'll be getting it electronically as a PDF. In addition to that, there's going to be a lot of handouts. Those will generally be posted to Google Classroom, mostly as Google Drive files and occasionally as PDFs. Classroom is going to be the main way that I will communicate with you and will get things back from you. We're going to be meeting live on Zoom during our class times. In addition, most weeks there will be about 1 hour of asynchronous work. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. I'll be announcing office hours soon, but you can always email me to set up a time to meet and talk. And as we're all on different time zones, that may work best. Please go to the forum and introduce yourself and then come back. Don't hit submit yet. I've got a bunch more questions for you. So how does our course work? My expectation is that we'll be meeting for the full class time on Mondays and Thursdays. There will be asynchronous work, that is a mix of a video and a form that I ask you to apply, that will be due before class on Tuesdays and Fridays. I'm considering that really part of our coursework, and by moving some of kind of my lecture time to that asynchronous material, I'll have time on Tuesdays and Fridays for more collaborative group work, including having you guys work on problems from the upcoming homework. So I'm stealing some time out of your time in order to give you collaborative time to work in class. We also might finish class early on Tuesdays and Fridays, particularly. I will not commit to using the entire class time those days, but I'm not promising anything either. We'll have to see how it works. Breakout rooms take extra time. For group work in class, I'll be asking you to use shared Google Docs and slides, and I'll be showing that to you on Monday. So that means you should plan to have a laptop with you or other device which will let you access and edit those files easily. It's really hard to interact with them directly just from a phone. Please contact me and let me know if that will be a problem for you. We can work something out, and if the only way you have to reliably connect is with the phone, we can make it work. As I said, everything will be posted to Google Classroom. Specifically, one important thing to know is that's how I will post assignments and how you will turn them in. You can turn them in either as Google Docs or as photos of handwritten work. It will also let you attach PDFs or like Microsoft Word files, but I'll strongly encourage you to use Google Docs if you can. It's much easier for me, and I can leave you comments much more effectively and helpfully that way. Just a few notes on Zoom. If at all possible, please try to keep your video on. I know for some people the bandwidth is a problem, but it's a lot easier for me to get feedback from your faces than from icons, and particularly when you're in breakout rooms. I try to keep an eye on the chats and the responses, but I sometimes miss things, particularly as you'll see, I will sometimes be writing on paper and I have a setup where the camera will project what I am writing. But when I'm doing that, it's a lot of things for me to keep track of. Fortunately, class is small, so if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just get my attention. Questions and feedback from you are, as far as I'm concerned, are the core of the course, and I do find it frustrating that it's harder for me to see when you have questions in an online environment. So unmute, interrupt me. Somebody else in class wants to hear that question and that answer, I promise. One thing I will be doing is occasionally in class asking you to try to solve a problem and then use Zoom chat to send your answer directly to me. Among other things, this helps me keep track of attendance because I can see who chatted to me. So when I ask you to do that, please reply to me. And it is always okay to just send a question mark or a note that you are confused. You don't have to know how to do everything. That's why you are here. You are here to learn. So the question mark is fine. Please go to the form again and let me know about your experience with Zoom and Google Docs. And if you have any concerns or anything you want me to know, again, don't hit submit yet. That asynchronous part of the class. So again, roughly twice a week, I will be putting out some short videos, a lot like this one, and an associated Google form, just like I've been asking you to pause this and go fill out a form. You should do those before class on Tuesdays and Fridays. And the group work you will have and the conversations we'll have in class will assume that you have already done that. I will put up a post at the start of each week with all of the relevant links so you can plan your time appropriately. These forms are mandatory. I won't be grading them, but you do have to complete them typically in a timely fashion in order to pass the course. Remember, even when I'm asking you to do a calculation, I'm confused or a question mark is always a legitimate answer. It means you tried and you thought about it. So I said, you got to do them. In general, they have to be done for Tuesdays and Fridays. You can have extensions on 2 days worth of forms during the term. That is, you can turn them in sometime later. I do want them in general on those days because our class will assume that you have already done that work. I've already alluded to this, but it's really important to me to embrace that moment of confusion. There's a lot of pedagogical research that shows that when you are confused is when you are most truly receptive to learning. You don't learn anything if you're just nodding along going, yeah, this makes sense. It's kind of reinforcing stuff you already know. So the goal of the questions and the forms and the homework is for you to figure out what you know and what you can figure out on your own and where you have questions, and then bring those questions with an attitude of being open to understanding and to getting them explained. I will not grade the forms. I will not grade the homework because I want you to try and to get as far as you can. You're adults. I want to treat you as such. My assumption is that you will put in a good faith effort on the homework and get through it when you can and get to the point where you can't figure out what to do next if that's what you have. Okay, some more bureaucratic stuff. I'm trying to figure out when to set office hours. I will let you know when office hours will be once I've had a chance to look at your availability. So on the form, I'm asking you, the next thing I want you to do is just tell me when you're available to meet. All times are in the Eastern time, Wellesley time zone. While I will set at least a couple of office hours a week, you should know that if you want to meet up with me, please email me and let you know when you're free. Our schedules are really very different these days. So if you let me know when you're free, I can usually set up a time to meet within a day or two, not necessarily over the weekend, but at least Monday through Friday. So absolutely, you want to talk with me, there's something you're confused about, you want to come introduce yourself, tell me and we'll find a time. I should say this is all tentative. I'll be asking for your feedback. I may revise how things work based on what you tell me. And if there's anything you'd like me to know right now, please let me know on the form. Okay, so what do you have to turn in? Homework. In addition to those videos and forms I talked about, there will also be homework generally assigned each class and due the next class meeting. We will go over homework questions at the start of class, homework that you have finished. And as I said, at least on Tuesdays and Fridays, I plan to build in some time for you to work on the next homework in class with other students. And I would absolutely encourage you, if you can manage to do so, to get together over Zoom with other students outside of class and work on the homework together. I think that is fantastic. In addition to that, there's going to be 3 midterm exams. You will be taking them outside of class on your own time. They're designed to take about 75 minutes, but I'm not going to tell you you have to restrict yourself to a 75-minute period. I'll just give it to you and ask you to turn it in sometime. I'll tell you when it's due. You'll generally have basically 2 days in which to take them. You'll take them March 2nd to 3rd, March 16th to 17th, and March 29th to 30th. That's the last day of class. And yes, in addition to these, despite the fact that the last exam is on the last day of class, there's also a longer final exam, which is intended to be a more classical take-home exam. I'll be passing that out on March 30th. It will be due on April 3rd, which is the absolute last day of the term. That is the one date that I will not be able to give you any extension on unless you go through the process of applying for an incomplete. So just so you know that in advance. So how do I grade this course? The 3 midterm exams and the final are worth 80% of your grade. I'll go over that in a couple minutes. The homework and the forms are the remaining 20%. Again, I don't grade those, so if you make an effort and turn it in, you will get the full 20%. You generally will not get credit for homework that you turn in late because you need it to be able to talk about it in class the next day. You can skip one assignment, and as always, there's a giant asterisk exception to this. If life is being a problem for you, let me know and we can make arrangements for you to turn in homework late. You just can't do it generally for no good reason. You also have to do all the video forms. If more than 2 of these are late, each additional late form will count as a missing homework assignment. Basically, they're an important part of class. Okay, so how the exams are 80% of your grade works. Here's the way I think about it. I write down the scores of your 3 midterm and I write down your final score twice. Then I drop the lowest grade from that list and I average the rest, and that gives you your exam grade. So for example, if these were your grades, you got an 80% on exam 2, on exam 1, you can see them on there. Then I would strike exam 1, I would average the remaining 4 numbers, and you would get 91 for your exam grade, which is 80% of your final grade. On the other hand, if the final was your lowest grade, I would essentially strike one of the 2 copies of your final grade, and the final would end up worth only as much as a midterm. So in effect, we can either drop one midterm entirely and have the final count as much as the other 2 put together, or if your worst grade is in the final, then each midterm counts and the final only counts half as much as the others. I like this because it gives me an opportunity to balance things out. One exam can kind of softly disappear if you are having a hard time, but since the final is comprehensive, all the material that we've covered in the class will be reflected in your grade to some extent. So it feels fair to me while giving you an opportunity to make up for something that didn't go smoothly. I said this already, but you should absolutely work together on homework. You do each need to turn in your own work in your own words, but collaborate, talk with one another. get together over Zoom in some way. Hopefully we'll have some time in class for you to get to know one another through breakout rooms, and I'll set up a way for you to share your contact information. The exam's your own work. You may not collaborate in any way with any other person on the exams. If you are not going to be able to complete work on time or not take an exam as scheduled, let me know as soon as possible so we can figure out a path forward. If you talk to me about an exam in advance, it is much easier for me to work something out than if you wait until after the exam has been distributed and due and then get in touch with me. Don't just disappear on me. If life is getting hard, let me know what's going on so I can help you. If life is getting hard, I would also encourage you to reach out to your class deans. They can be very helpful. And particularly if there's a lot that's messy, they can do the hard work of getting in touch with your professors if you need some assistance. There's disability accommodations at Wellesley. If you need some adjustments in this course, contact the Accessibility and Disabilities Resources Office. They'll get a letter. It outlines your accommodation needs. That letter will get submitted to me. There's a whole formal process. If you need accommodations and you haven't gone through the whole formal testing process, you should also just talk to me and sometimes we can work something out. The exams will not be timed this semester, so that releases a lot of the pressure that people sometimes have. If there are other things that will be helpful for you, let me know, particularly in this online recorded way. I know that for some non-standard learning styles, video learning just is not quite as effective. And if there's something you know that helps you in this environment, please let me know. So I look forward to meeting you all on Monday. Please finish out filling the form and introduce yourself and then submit it. Let me know if you have any questions and concerns. Questions that I get off that form, I'll be addressing at our first class meeting to everybody. The forms aren't a great way to contact me if you want a direct one-on-one response. If you do have a question for me that you want me to respond to directly, maybe something more personal or more urgent, feel free to email me now or at any time, and I will get in touch with you as soon as possible. I look forward to meeting you all. I'll see you soon. So in addition to this, you should have received a paper copy of the syllabus, which gives you some sense of the topics that we'll be covering, and an invitation to join our course at Classroom. Please accept that. As I said, that's where I'll be posting everything. See you on Monday.